Passion. At MSD, the Louisville and Jefferson County Metropolitan Sewer District, we have three core businesses: flood protection, the collection, conveyance, and treatment of sewage, and drainage. But if you look at those three, every one of them impacts people's lives and impact the community and impact the environment. But the one that has the greatest potential for catastrophe is the flood protection system, and it is Bud's passion to make sure that we protect the residents and the properties within our community and the environment within our community. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about MSD just so you get a perspective of where we're coming from and what we do. I mentioned the three primary areas, and I'll give you a few stats on those. In the sanitary sewer system, there's about 3,300 miles of sewer. There's about 300 pump stations. We have a handful of regional treatment plants, and we still have a few package plants that we've acquired that we're eliminating. We have 700 or so miles of combined sewers. You are sitting in the combined sewer area right now. Most of the downtown central business district and to the west to the river is combined. The flood protection system was originally built in a couple of different phases. The first phase was started in 1947 as a follow-up to the 1937 flood that some of you all heard about yesterday, and some of the other major floods, the 1945 flood, and I think a lot of it really goes back to the 1927 Mississippi flood and its basis for the system. But the first system started in 1947, it was completed in 1956, and the second phase was extending that out to the south along the river. Ultimately, where we're at today, we have 16 flood pump stations. We have 29 miles of flood wall and levee, which you can see if you walk outside and down some steps. And we have about 200 closures or openings or gates through that system. Just wanted to give you a little bit of that perspective. And on the drainage side, we've got about 700 miles of channels. We are the prime permit holder for the municipal stormwater permit, the MS4 permit for the community. So when we look at the perspectives of risk, we've got a lot of balls in the air, and we do a decent job of juggling, but we really keep trying to find ways to improve those efficiencies. And how we've really done this is to try to take what our system gives us, what our community gives us, or what we can find a way to implement. And by that, what I mean is, if you go back and look through the history of Louisville MSD, we only took over drainage and flood control in 1987. Prior to that, the city and county had their components of that system. And when we took it over, we implemented a stormwater utility, and that's the basis of our rates. We're a state-formed semi or quasi-government entity. We get no tax dollars. We occasionally get a little bit of grant money, but most of what we do, like 99.5%, is based on the rates that we're able to collect from our community. So what we've done over the years, and I'm mostly talking from 87 till now, is a series of things. When we took over in 87, there was a large backlog of problems. There were a lot of flooding properties. The mayor spoke earlier about the 1997 flood. What had been done between 87 and 97 was primarily to go construct a couple of larger basins and look at things to improve, or let's say that differently, things to reduce the floodplain in certain areas. What we did after 1997, I think, is significantly different, because while we still continued to build flood control structures, we also had a few other programs. In 2003, when merged government came into play here, there was a new program that was rolled out in its first month. It was called Project DRY, Drainage Response Initiative. And what that program did, and is continuing to do today, is it eliminated what was on most people's daily mind: a lot of standing water issues, a lot of minor flooding issues. And the lesson learned there, because I didn't fully agree as a consultant at the time with the direction it started, although I was involved in it, I absolutely agreed with what we were going to do, but I said there needed to be a bigger flood control component to it. It shouldn't just be about eliminating standing water. And what the program really developed into was, it is focused on those nuisance level complaints, although many of our residents will tell you that it's not a nuisance to have to traipse through standing water for 5 months out of the year to get your mail. But when we put these systems in, a lot of them reduced what was not mapped floodplain or mapped flooding problems, but the nuisance flooding problems. We reduced the number of first floor floodings significantly through that program, and a lot of it was just by providing a positive outlet so that the water could get out. So these were the smaller neighborhood scale areas. So that may be the most successful program we've ever done. We have completed 3 phases of that now. We're going into the 4th phase. We spend about $10 million a year, between 10 and 20 million a year on that program. The way that we judge how beneficial a program is, in part, is by the public response to it. Prior to this program, it didn't matter what we had a meeting on. If we had a public meeting, we would have 200 people there complaining about drainage problems. And usually about 5 to 10% of those would be more of a flooding related basis, and the rest of them would be standing water or nuisance flooding. Now we can't get people to come to meetings. When we were going through our federal consent decree public outreach program, we offered rain barrel giveaways, we offered free dinner. We couldn't get people to come out and talk to us. So it's good and it's bad. We really would like more input from the community, but it's nice to know that they've accepted and embraced the programs.